I'm not gonna lie to you, I was surprised, shocked, too stunned to speak. So I was talking to one of my friends and he goes, hey, did you know St. Louis was ranked the best city for recent college grads? I'm like, no, it's not. Like, since when? So he sends me the article by CNBC and sure enough, he was correct. Number one was St. Louis. And I'm looking into it and it's not just this one article. Business Insider ranked us number one, Smart Money ranked us number three, Yahoo Finance ranked us number three, Bankrate.com number five, and they all say some of the same things. It's cost of living, job opportunities, entertainment, but I still wouldn't have guessed St. Louis to be number one on any of those lists. So in this video, we're gonna talk more about that and go over some of these reasons, especially if you're a recent college grad, young professional, moving to St. Louis or thinking about it. We're talking all about that in this video. I feel like this is the first video I've done on this channel that's more specifically targeted to like my demographic. Millennials, Gen Z, whichever one you are. I had to Google this, but apparently the one after Gen Z is called Generation Alpha. I didn't know that. That's a pretty badass name, but that's anyone age 0 to age 12. So they're not college grads yet. Hey, welcome to the channel. Welcome back. My name is Jacob Peistrup. So by far, the biggest reason all of these websites listed for St. Louis being a good city for recent grads is the cost of living. St. Louis is not an expensive city. Probably not the cheapest, but compared to a lot of other major metropolitan areas, it is not ridiculously expensive. The median rent is between $700 and $1,000 a month. Median purchase price, if you're buying a house or a condo, usually between $200,000 and $240,000, depending on which county you're in. And the numbers I kept seeing for median income was between $45,000 and $55,000 a year for recent grads. So if you're in that income range, spending $700 a month on rent isn't that bad compared to some cities where it's 3 to 4 times as expensive. And even if you're looking at buying a house or a condo, like you can realistically find something between $150 and $250 around St. Louis, depending on what areas you're interested in. And speaking of, if you are buying a place here, my team and I are licensed brokers. If you want some help, send us an email or send us a text. We would love to work with you. We love hearing from our clients through this YouTube channel. But I mean, like, the more I think about it, we've definitely had a decent number of clients, either from this channel or just our friends and family who are like fresh out of school, buying a place. You know, they're 23 to 26 years old. And I know that's not common in a lot of other cities, like the more expensive ones, but in St. Louis, that is very doable. Like whether you're single or you're married and you have a dual income household, you can definitely buy a place within, you know, the first couple of years after school if you're in St. Louis. And I mean, I went to college in Boston. You want to talk about expensive? I mean, that's a city where the average first-time home buyer is usually in their early 30s because you're looking at prices upwards of $800,000. And that's just a steep cost to pay if you're fresh out of school. And especially if you're doing a low down payment loan, like a first time buyer program or anything FHA, you can absolutely get something in St. Louis with less than $10,000 as a down payment. And I know in a lot of other more expensive markets, that's not even realistic because you're not looking at anything below $500,000 for a purchase price. In some of those expensive cities, it's just not very common for 23 and 24-year-olds to be able to buy a house. And in St. Louis, you can absolutely do that. And some of the other cities that came up a lot on these lists were Denver, Portland, and Minneapolis. Honestly, I don't think I would have ever expected St. Louis to outrank Denver on something. Like, that's a cool city, but apparently St. Louis is better. Now, some of the other big reasons these lists put St. Louis at the top, aside from just being a cheap place to live, was the nightlife and just the social atmosphere. I mean, there's definitely a lot of fun places to go out if you're a social kind of person in St. Louis. And actually, another big thing was just opportunities for jobs within some specific sectors. So healthcare, finance, and management were some of the big ones as far as job opportunities in St. Louis. And here's a pretty cool thing I can tell you about St. Louis, just based off my experience literally selling houses to people who are moving here. Regardless of what your taste is, like whatever your style is, you can find a lot of different things pretty reasonably priced in St. Louis. Whether you want a really cool loft in the city or a townhouse in the suburbs, a house, or I mean, even brand new construction, you can get a brand new house sometimes under $300,000 if you're okay with living further outside the city. And the reason I bring that up is because like when you're in your 20s and even your early 30s, people are just across the board with where they are in life. I mean, you got some people who are established in their careers, married with kids, some people single, no kids, some people going to grad school or getting their PhD. Like, everyone is just all over the place with where they end up. And, you know, regardless of which one of those you are, you can definitely find a lot of options in St. Louis. It's funny sometimes the way life turns out and you do things you never thought you would do. For the longest time, I really did not see myself ever staying in St. Louis. I went to college in Boston and thought I was either gonna stay there, or I started off in college studying international business. I thought I was gonna go get into consulting, travel the globe, do all that kind of stuff. Realized it was not for me. And I was considering things and I'm like looking at it like, do I really want to spend $25,000 a year in Boston, just living expenses between rent, utilities, having a tiny little apartment with no laundry and no AC? I'm like, man, you either have to spend a ton of money to get a comfortable place to live, or you gotta have like 3 or 4 roommates, or you just have to have a little apartment by yourself in an old building that's outrageous with rent. I definitely noticed the difference between living costs in St. Louis and in Boston. And I'm like, I have some friends who ended up in New York, San Francisco, and LA, married with kids. And I'm like, how are you guys doing that? Now, if you're moving to St. Louis as a young professional wondering, okay, what are the best places to live? These are the neighborhoods that were always at the top of the list. This is not me trying to steer you. The links will be in the description for these. Central West End, downtown, Lafayette Square, Shaw, and Soulard were the top 5 ranking neighborhoods for recent grads in St. Louis. I'm really not surprised by that. Like, between all 5 of those, you have really fun stuff to do from, you know, a nightlife perspective, entertainment, social atmosphere. And you've also just got a lot of different options for living. If you want a high-rise condo or a cool looking loft, a house, townhome, whatever you want, all 5 of those places have really great options for housing in St. Louis. And the other thing a lot of these websites mentioned that made St. Louis a great place is because of all the free stuff. And sometimes I forget about that, but there's a lot of free stuff in St. Louis. Museums, parks, the zoo, Forest Park has a lot of really fun stuff to check out, but just in terms of events and different things going on, St. Louis has a lot, and a lot that's free. So that is definitely a huge plus if you're moving here and you're just looking for fun stuff to do. So again, if you are moving to St. Louis, buying a house, buying a condo, whether it's your first time or your 5th time, we'd love to help you. Shoot us an email, shoot us a text. We do get asked a lot about apartment rentals because I know that in a lot of other cities, it's common for brokers to facilitate leasing. In St. Louis, we don't really do that. It is kind of tough. You know, there isn't really a huge network for rentals like there is in other cities. We usually recommend either reaching out to a property manager or calling the leasing office for any building you're interested in, especially if you see something on Zillow or apartments.com. Go to their website and that will probably give you the most information, because it's hard for us to be helpful with that. So that is gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Hope you take care. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video on the Living St. Louis channel.